Welcome to the Shotgun Thoughts broadcast. I'm your host, Samuel Riccardi, and I have multiple sclerosis. I've been a worker in the culinary industry for a long time, and I've had a very diversified career portfolio. I've pretty much done a lot of low level, entry level work. I've worked at Party City, which is a retail store that sells seasonal party goods. I've worked at multiple different pharmacies. I've worked at delis, restaurants, pubs, bars. I've done insurance. I've been a New York State licensed health insurance agent, life insurance as well. I've done low voltage in different industries, both for T-Mobile, Sprint. I've also worked for Spectrum on door-to-door sales. I've done DoorDash, Uber Eats. I've led culinary kitchens. I've done quite a bit of everything at this point. And one thing I really wanted to go into was delivery driving in New York City. And I was doing this prior to the run up of my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, and it led to a bunch of injuries. But mainly, what I wanted to get into was the fact that recently they had raised the minimum wage of DoorDash, really all of those delivery services. I know specifically it was Uber that I know for sure, but they raised the minimum wage to $30 an hour, and I think it's something that is very good in a sense, and I don't really want to argue about any of that stuff, but they did do that, and I would say that it's probably a really good job to get into. If you're entry level or you're looking for a very flexible schedule or work for yourself and really see how that goes for you, because a lot of people think that that's like something that's super easy to work for yourself, be your own boss and everything. And you always say boss makes or boss makes a dollar, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time. So that whole mentality, it makes sense when you're the worker for the long time, but the minute that you have your own business, so really your money's in your own hands, that's where push comes to shove. You really got to show up, and you see that, and it's a huge difference. I've always been used to like structured work, and it was something that it's nice to have that freedom, and it's something that you can definitely take for granted. With Uber, there's a lot of levity. Their support is very responsive, and I cannot tell you how many times that there were problems with a pickup, with a drop off, and I don't know what the rules are now, but with Uber, they would just tell you like, if you can't find a safe spot to drop this stuff off, just leave it anywhere. Which at that point, are you really going to leave it somewhere where this person's not responding? They're pretty much telling you to like take the food. So there's a lot of laxness with Uber that I would highly recommend for somebody willing and wanting to do that type of work, especially if gas is not too much of a factor. If you got like a motorcycle or moped, one of these electric bikes or something like that, scooter, whatever it might be, it'd be extremely good to be doing that, especially in the cities. I don't know what the minimum wage is in a lot of places, a lot of states, but I know New York City, for sure, one of the best places to be doing that. It can be very good, especially because again, the versatility, the flexibility with what you're able to do. And I do think they give even more benefits now for like helping you with the car and stuff like that. So it can actually be pretty good. I have over 1,000 rides, or I should say 1,000 deliveries with Uber. Um they do have that thing where you can put in, I would say it helps a lot, especially now that people are not really tipping too much, because they made it so that you can't even tip now on Uber until after your delivery is delivered. So people, it's tipping is highly discouraged now in a way, at least compared to the way it used to be. So you can always help out by writing like a very alluring bio, like why people might want to tip you, saving for college or just finished college, looking to save for this, whatever it might be, something like that could definitely help you. I know it did with me. I was doing it probably like 100 rides, and then I put a bio in that had to do with newly married, saving for a house and something else like that. And I'll tell you, it 20-30% more tips for sure. And having like a picture that's not threatening in any way, that kind of helps for sure. Make people actually click to look into your profile and everything like that. At least feel safe in general, not give you bad feedback and stuff like that. But that's really not too important. You know, it can help the quality of the tickets that they give you. But I was doing pretty good. I was doing like 20 an hour. And this was like 3, 4, 5 years ago. Doing like 20 an hour on average, and could do it like 12-hour days sometimes. But that was less, more so doing it on my own schedule, about 6 hours on average. But yeah, it was really good. And then you could always do it with somebody else too. That makes it even faster. Somebody drives, somebody hops out to pick up, and somebody hops out to drop off. Make it very quick, especially because then you could pretty much park anywhere if you have somebody in the passenger seat. So that's very helpful. But if you have a moped or like an individual type of vehicle, then that's going to be the best, because you could take side streets, you can get however you need to, no traffic, stuff like that. That's the best way to do it. But yeah, restaurant industry, culinary industry, that's a whole different ball game. I think a lot of people see that stuff on TV, they get into it, they might like cooking at home, something like that. And it one way or the other, they end up getting pulled into that area. I really think you should stick to just doing like Uber or something like that. The food industry is a grinder, man. It will eat you up. I've been through it. I worked over 15, maybe even 20 different restaurants at this point. I've worked in commercial kitchens. I've worked in Panera Bread. I've worked at Nathan's on Coney Island. I've worked at gastropubs, like these fancy bars that they got in Williamsburg. I've been in Manhattan at different places. I was working in Madison Square Garden. That place is, oh my god, everything looks so nice when it comes to food. But let me tell you, unless you're in a small place and things are pretty calm, it is not something you want to work. You're not just cooking. You're cleaning, you're prepping, you're doing five jobs sometimes, and it's serious. When you're cleaning up a lot of stuff. You're cleaning up, sanitizing, you're degreasing, cleaning out hoods. You're making sure you're clean at all times. You might even have to wear beard nets, hair nets, all different types of stuff, the gloves all day long, you know. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff, especially that a lot, in the West, there are a lot of immigrants and low level workers who are, they're raring for the opportunity. So, you know, as somebody who might not want to put out like 100% effort into like an entry level job, it's not something you should really be into, especially because management, they're not looking for anybody with a good head on their shoulders. They're looking for just more people to keep the grinder going. It's not something highly favorable. To be honest, your best bet when it comes to food is read like something commercial. Like an actual McDonald's, a Burger King, a Subway, a Panera Bread, something like that. At least there's a structure, there's a way that you can guarantee yourself to climb up the ladder, just amount of time. I mean, again, you're dealing with some politics, of course, and that whole thing. I really couldn't do it. I'm I'm really not that type of guy. I had a lot of problem with like anger management. And really, it wasn't even like anger management. It's just that when people push me to a point, and when I'm feeling like I'm being taken advantage of, I have this like survival instinct that kicks in, you know? And my level of giving a shit, no fucks given, it's all the way up. And I'll say what I have to, I'll do what I have to. I I really don't stand for shit happening at a lot of the jobs that I was in. It's the reason why eventually it led to me leaving a lot of these positions and finding something better, which is a good motivator in a way with the city. You really don't ever have to settle. There's always other jobs, you know, but I almost ran into a point where I was like, holy crap, I've worked for so many people where once I started to like apply at a certain point, it was like people would almost know about me. And this is New York City where there's like, hundreds of thousands of different jobs. So pretty wild, pretty wild. There's a lot of different things. I would just highly recommend. I was the type of person that didn't know what I wanted to get into, didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to school. Well, I did want to go to school, but I didn't want to go with the idea that I wasn't certain about what I wanted to do. Like I liked so many different things, you know? But that's where my father, he was very pushy. He just wanted me to go out there and work, go out there and work. He didn't really want me to, well, he was supportive of the whole school idea and they were going to pay for my college. But again, I didn't want to waste my parents' money. It was very tight as it is. And then also you had the fact that, you know, it, it's just much better to get involved with something and see what it is and where it takes you, you know. And that's what my dad was always telling me, was to like just follow opportunity, you know, because you never know where it's going to take you. It might, that job that you don't like, it might help you get the job that you really do like. And that's a big thing, you know. Just getting your foot in the door, getting started with something, it helps you to be productive. You know, make your bed every day. Get up, do something you don't want to do. I leave dishes in the sink overnight. So I wake up the next morning and I'm annoyed. And I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I clean those dishes in the morning. And that's one of the newer things that I'm doing to myself. But I was the type of person that, I mean, I was so lazy in that sense. Just always thinking about tomorrow, thinking about a week from now, thinking about a month from now. Never like in the moment using my time as best I could, you know? And now I have I have a disease that I have brain damage. I have problems with myself now. And now is the time that I've taken to focus on myself and think about every day and build a foundation where literally making your bed turns into making your bed every day, then doing the dishes, cleaning your room. And these are all things that you maintain. You brush your teeth, you take a shower, you do all these things, you layer them, you make sure just one at a time you build this platform where you're constantly adding to the things that you're doing as a routine and make everything something that you can attain, you know. And if you're doing bad stuff, you know, you have to balance that. Like I smoke cigarettes, I drink wine, you know, I smoke weed, and I can excuse that and say I have a prescription. It's for the multiple sclerosis. Doesn't matter. I shouldn't be smoking, shouldn't be doing these things. So I like to balance them out in a lot of ways. If I'm gonna smoke, I go exercise. I do something counter to that. If I'm gonna do something bad, I do something good. Maybe even two things that are good. You earn that. You really, you know, have that sense of accomplishment and really give yourself something to move toward in that way where you're being better. You can be better by doing less bad. Just choose to do less bad or do more good to outweigh that, you know. And I'm just saying, as a general rule of thumb, you have to be realistic in life with things that are achievable, you know. Sometimes you're so buried. I was so buried in everything that it's like you just need to start with something that you can like give yourself that hope that yes, I can achieve this. I can do this. This is something attainable for me. I'm not just completely lost in this ebb and flow and every day is like another thing stacked on your shoulders. It's not that way. You have to start with something small. I mean, really, you don't have to stop things outright immediately. It's very often unattainable. You have to seriously give yourself goals. Like, stop doing it as much. Go from 7 to 6. And you can go from 6 to 5 the same way that you did that. It might even get easier, and oftentimes it does. That's why it's better to, some things are cold turkey, they call it, where you stop, you're done. You do that cold. But those are things that you're going to be really passionate about. I had a moment in my life where I wanted to join the Navy. And I was so set on that. I was exercising, I was running, I was doing all these things. Nothing in my mind would deter me from going to the Navy. Fortunately, life has other plans. I ended up having surgery needed on my stomach, couldn't do exercise for 6 months. And I'm not the type to just sit around and wait for, this to happen. So kind of looked at it as an opportunity to, life's pointing me in other directions. So anyway, you have to look at those things and really make the best of them, but also plan, be ready, and realize what state you're in and what is attainable, what you can do, what's something that you can continue to achieve in that same way. You do not want to go somewhere and then end up back where you started. You want to go to that place and then be able to go from there and reach another better place. You want to do those types of steps. You're not climbing up the stairs to keep going backward and like breaking your ankle and stuff like that. You're looking to make sure every step up is actually ascending you closer to your goal. And the same thing with a lot of things in life. We have a trajectory, and if that's off just a little bit over time, that's going to amount for a lot. So we have to self-correct sometimes, and if that means doing nothing and reevaluating and kind of taking it easy sometimes, that's definitely more achievable. you know? And honestly, man, I have to say cheers to that. I hope everybody's doing all right for the most part. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the States. As always, you really can't go wrong with a little bit of wild news. I mean, literally, I was on the internet for like 5 minutes. I went on Instagram, or sorry, I was on Substack. And really, if you want to get good news, factual information, stuff that you can count on, because the people who are writing it are going to be accountable to themselves more than anything, the fact that they believe in a standard, should go to Substack to get your information. But let me just say that within 5 minutes, this was like some of the news that I gathered within the last week. Just browsing Substack real quick. You got documents which confirmed Ukraine a 10-year and growing fund for elites as a like a private army type of thing, that they're like, a lot of this taxpayers' money is going to Ukraine. I had said that earlier in the year, actually, sorry, last year, that was very likely for all this stuff going on. You got all this money going to the UN. It's like they're trying to make sure they have their spaceship to get off of out of the US in a sense. If it's not China that they're partnering with, they got the United Nations or something like that, Ukraine, that they're going to have like a basis for. God forbid the US turns on them and the people actually start to right the wrongs of everything. These are going to be the people that they're in cahoots with. Then you got, anyway, John Brennan, which is the ex-FBI director, or sorry, CIA director, I believe. Could be mixing that up. But continual treason by John Brennan. Absolutely. He was the guy that basically got all the J6 protests and all that stuff. He got a lot of that stuff. He was like an agitator in the crowd and everything with a bunch of his other cronies. Then New York City, all over the country, illegals killing people. There was a guy that he wasn't getting his government benefits. This isn't illegal, by the way. Wasn't getting his government benefits, so he got pissed off, goes over an overpass, starts chucking rocks onto the highway, hits a car. The woman has her mother in the passenger seat, grandmother in the back seat. All hell breaks loose. I'm pretty sure the mother died. I'm not 100% sure what happened to the daughter who was driving and the grandmother, but that's terrible. Then there was a dude. This is the second or third time now that he's killed people. The last time he was speeding through an intersection, killed a mother and daughter, got let out the next day. These DAs and all these people in on this stuff, man, it is unbelievable. Some good news. The FBI, apparently there's this cartel woman called Lacheli or Lacheli, not sure, but it's with a C. La Chely in El Paso, New Mexico, from what I heard. I thought El Paso was in Texas, but anyway, El Paso, New Mexico. The FBI caught this woman. This was a woman that apparently part of the cartel or something like that connected, but she's like butchering people, all sorts of people dead under her name. Next thing, we got Gemini, which is I forget what that's Google, sorry. That's Google AI Gemini and Meta, both turn out to be extremely woke AI. You get all these messed up results. You're asking for, presidents of the United States. It has them black. It has, all these crazy mix-ups. And then you ask it about certain things, and it's like you can't even have white pride, but you can be Asian or any other race and have pride. Then there was a massive wildfire in Canadian Texas, apparently devastating. Microsoft paying white employees less as usual. There was, I cannot believe it, but there was a U.S. airman. Now, they're calling him a U.S. airman. I don't know. I'm guessing that he was in the Air Force. But this dude went in front of the U.S. embassy, lit himself on fire, and committed suicide, basically, in lieu of Palestine. Unbelievable that these American citizens, this is the woke, demoralizing shit going on right now. I honestly cannot believe that that was an American serviceman. That is crazy to believe that this man is going to sacrifice himself for a place that does not give a living shit about him. Dr. Michael Nels says that spike proteins in the vaccine shut down nerve production, which would be focused on mental ability, energy to think, to be curious, or even have doubts. So these vaccines and these spike proteins seem to be contributing to mental malaise where people don't even want to question anything and you just don't have the energy to begin with. The WHO, Tedros, who's running the WHO, but who's moving the strings? Gates, the Wellcome Trust, and the Rockefeller Foundation. Also, Trump appeals the $455 million verdict that was placed against him in New York by Judge Engron. And that is literally 5 minutes worth of news from Substack. Isn't that pretty wild? Pretty wild, I would say so. Cannot believe how wild everything is now. And that is literally like probably 1% of everything, It's absolutely intense, but that's why we need to keep everything locked down, keep it shipped up, baby. That's where, You got to believe me when I say so. Everything is going to be all right because everything is in our hands. We, the people, baby. You got to be strong. You got to live strong. I mean, put your faith in something. All right? Ask for a little bit of guidance. Ask for help. And, even if that doesn't come, you have to remember that it's always right around the corner. You just have to get there. So you keep pushing on. If there's anything I can help out, any comments, anything you got to share, I'd love to hear it. Appreciate you guys listening in. Thank you very much. See you with another one next week.